Uh, a very good evening to all of you. Now today we are in between our Festival of Lights, where we used to celebrate this festival with good spirit and okay, for a harmonious relation between and among different members of our society. We discussed today also before we start this session. I mean, in the beginning, when we are talking in a casual way, that successful implementation of everything, like for example, for this cracker. So in this also we have know that participation of each and every citizen is very much important in effective implementation and making that a successful this in a successful way. So as a student of sustainability science, as you know, we have to understand different perspective and different approaches in bringing or in achieving sustainable development goal, sustainable development in general, and sustainable development goals by 2030 in particular. So today in our session, we are going to discuss on basic concept and principle on to talk on this. We have with us Professor Nehal F. Farooquee, who has vast experience, especially in grassroots level before he joined, sorry, Indira Gandhi National Open University. He was working in different national level, organization like CAC, and he was as a hardcore. Uh, his background is basically social science, but as I will treat, I Louis said this, sir, you are a hardcore socio-ecologist because he has more than 10-year experience in working natural resource management in the Himalayan region. So with this brief introduction, the details I have already shared with all of you through our discussion forum. Let us welcome Professor Farooquee in this session, and let us try to clear some of the concepts which we are not known to us, or which we were not able to understand the concepts very clearly from him. So I welcome, on behalf of the students, sir, I welcome you in this session. And not last not least, he is also one of the key experts who has played an important role in developing this uh, program, this discipline in IGNOU, the sustainability science. He is involved from the beginning of the developing this course. So I welcome you, sir, and I hand it over to you for the session. Thank you, sir.
Well, good evening to everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Khuman, for giving me this opportunity to interact with your students. But before I begin, I start that lecture on the topic. I would like to tell my students that Dr. Khuman, who initiated this idea and this program, although we were also associated with it, but seeing his deep insight, and though he's very young, but he added to flavor to the designing committee, the expert group meeting. I always found him, he used to come up with new ideas and try to incorporate most of the things so as to make it very what we call empirical. This subject has this particular discipline, he has made it very empirical, and those of students, those who are associated with this program, at the end of it, they would realize understanding on this particular sustainability science will definitely help in understanding present day world development, and also in suggesting that in future it can change our lifestyle, we can change our policies so that all the goals of sustainable development goals are met. Now, with this brief intro about Dr. Khoman, I will straightway come to the topic. Now, the topic assigned to me is participation, policy, and planning for natural resource management. Now, with some experience in the Himalayan region, where I was working as a human ecologist on different components of natural resource management among different communities of different elevation and different region. I have some experience in Arunachal Pradesh, some experience in Leh Ladakh, some experience in Uttarakhand and Himachal. So I have covered most of the Himalayan region. Now, for the last 10 years, I am in IGNOU and I am in the School of Extension and Development Studies, where we have developed program on development studies, Masters in Development Studies and PG Diploma in Development Studies and PG Diploma in Urban Planning and Development. Now, with this background, let me start that oh, that natural resource management, although in urban areas, people, students, or they're not directly associated with natural resource management, natural resources. They utilize the water we get in urban areas, the potable water, it's all from the nature, from the river. And in the mountainous region, in urban areas, it is from the natural springs. But in the rural areas and in the forested areas or the communities who are residing, whom we call ecosystem people or the tribal communities of Northeast and the high altitude, they are directly in association with the nature, directly depend on nature, their lifestyle. So they know how to utilize their resources in a sustainable way. Well, sustainability has come much later, but they know how to use that resources so that it lasts and they live for their posterity or exhaust. There is no commercialization or of tapping of resources. Now, let's start. What is participation? What I will give you one example that people in those who are directly involved with natural resource management, they participate in the decision making that how to utilize the resource. Say the forest, there are a number of products, a number of uses from the forest. I will come to the topic later. I want to give you some background so that you can correlate very easily. Say fuel wood, minor timber forest produce, or then the fodder. These are some of the resources which all the people, those who are residing in the village or in the tribal communities, they utilize the harness from the forest area. Now, how do they do that? See, before the Panchayat Raj or the Panchayat which came later, or in Uttarakhand and in West Bengal, joint forest management has also come, where the Panchayat and the forest department together, they have joined and clubbed to manage the resources. Before that, the communities were doing it themselves. They have a very developed, evolved a very good mechanism whereby they decided that on a particular day, which are the forest patches which will be opened for utilization. And villagers would go graze their livestock, do some lopping for the fuel wood and some fodder collection in certain patch. And the other patch which was not allowed, nobody would enter in those areas. So that way, they started utilizing resources for different utilization for their different needs, varied needs, bit by bit, so that there is enough time for regeneration of the resources. Very general thing. Now, when we come down to urban areas where people are not directly associated with the natural resource management, so we feel there is a disconnect between people and the natural resource. But in urban areas also, there are different kinds of resources. Say, apart from water, the open space. Open space in urban areas gives what? It gives opportunity for the people to go and breathe openly. If there is a water pond or a lake or a patch there, during summertime, people go and relax nearby. Or if there is a lake or boating facility, then people go and do boating. So apart from the recreation and relaxation, it has also a number of services it provides to the urban areas. Apart from cooling to the cooling area, cooling to the areas surrounding the lake, it also has different kinds of ecosystem services, which you all know because some of you are science students. Now let's try to, with this background, little background, let's try to understand what is participation, what is policy and planning, and how they affect this particular, and their understanding is going to help all of us. Now let's see what are the actors of development. We all know the actors of development. What is actors of development? I mean the agencies, the organization, the people who are associated with development for different aspects, like public sector. Now public sector means the government agencies. They are directly involved in the development activities. Different kinds of agencies are there. The Public Works Department, PWD, for the road construction, for the infrastructure development. Then there is health, for his schooling, for education, a number of public sector. Then the service providers are there, MTNL, so many are, we all know. So public sector plays a very important role in the development. So it is one of the important actor for development. Then the private sector. Private sector also plays a very important role in the development. Apart from services which they provide, different kinds of services, the shops and the R&D, then after globalization, 1991, we find that private sector is equally a partner in the development. They have been allowed access, they are investing and they are providing the energy, they have gone into energy sector, they have given in all the kinds of services sector and all health service, all the kinds of service where the government was initially, the public sector was involved. Now private sector is also providing. And in fact, they are providing better services in some more better than some of the public sector units. Then international agencies, they also play a very important role. They provide guidelines, they provide examples, they provide case studies, they provide financial resources for development of some of the key sectors. Then the market, we all know what kind of development role it plays by providing different products. It has made a very variety of household appliances, so many things, consumer goods, the market provide to the people. Then the civil society. Civil society is very important because civil society acts as both. It provides the services, it acts as a check and balances, like the Center for Science and Environment. There are so many NGOs which provide a check on the development. They provide a check on the environmental pollution. They provide check on the natural resources and on different kinds of development. They try to involve people in the decision making and development, which you all know what kind of a role civil societies and NGO plays. Then the bilateral organizations also play. So these are some of the examples, some of the actors which are directly involved in the development. Now we'll go further and see what are the pillars of, why we call pillars of development, because these are the real agencies which is directly in the development. Whatever development we have today, these pillars. Now let's say development planning is one of the most important pillar for development, because development planning, what it does, it plans that what are the key sectors and what are the areas where we need development, where we need change, where there is a need for providing access to the people, variety of resources, opportunity, and to make the life of people a more healthy, happy, and also services it provides. So planning, what it does, it plans for the utilizing the resource base, plans for whom, for the people. And then the development management, what it does, development, you see, most of you would be knowing all these terms, but for the better of some, I will try to explain some of them. That development management, it is a management, some of the basic tenets of management is here also, that for development, you have to manage the agency, you have to manage the resources, you have to manage the people for whom development is going to happen or development is taking place. Then development communication. Development communication is one of the very vital, most important component, because this is the only channel by which we communicate with the people, the end users, for whom development has been planned or development is taking place, that what are the available options, opportunities for making their life better, for providing more avenues to their community or to their resources. So through development communication, it's a two-way channel, two-way process. You, the development agencies communicate their plans and objectives, their methods, that what are the future plans for the development, and they get feedback from the people that what are the requirement, what is the action, what they expect from in the name of development or in the name of a development project. So communication is a channel by which you give your input and you get output from the people, that what is the expectations of development. Then development governance, you know, one of the very vital tenets of development, that through you are able to deliver you are able to deliver what the project has been designed to deliver. Like there are certain, what we call, certain basic features of governance. What are the basic features of governance? That it ensures that there is a transparency in the project, so that people for whom development project has been initiated, they directly participate in the process, and they are able to see that what is the basic component of the project, in what way it has been designed, what are the ill effects of the project. So that transparency, what are the various stages in which the development project is going to work, and if there is any shortfall, through governance they are able to communicate. Then apart from transparency, the other thing is that decision is not top-down approach. In development governance, the decision goes to the people. Their bottom-up approach, you can say, that they participate in the development process, in the decision making. They decide that what would be the quantum of the project. Say a dam in the Himalayan region, it's not going to be a monumental or very big dam, which is like the Terry Dam. At that time, this concept was not there when this dam was designed by late our Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, in late 70s. It took a lot of time. Then now the projects which is coming up, they are going for small dams, because small dam is the requirement, where it is not the what we call the catchment area of dam. The submergence zone of the dam is not going to be very big. No big displacement is going to happen. So through a small tunnel, water is channelized and electricity is generated at a head where the force is maximum. So these are some of the examples I am giving, that through development governance, we get feedback from the people, from the experts, from the NGOs, that in what should be the dimension of the project, what should be the size of the developmental project. Then the development administration, it is known that through administration, you can manage the resources, you can manage the time of the project, and you can manage the transparency of the overall. So these are the 5 very important pillars of development. Now, dear students, if you know these 5 pillars of development, so with this background, let's go further and see that in what way people participate and what are the advantages our students, our villagers or our people in the area for whom development project has been designed, is they are going to say. Now let's see what is the meaning of participation. So it is very clear, it means taking part. People, they join, they are able to participate in policy planning. Participation means directly involvement. I will read some of it so that you are able to understand, that I will explain also, in decision making process, and which affects their life also. So that means participation, people's participation is a very vital, very important component in the natural resource management. And for the students of sustainable science, initially when the science was evolving, so at that time, these components, that is the people's participation, and these components were not there. But ever since the concept of sustainability has come, so the role of people has become very vital. Without their consent, if we go for development project, so that is going to be less sustainable or unsustainable. So people's participation is a vital component. Now, the way participation is defined largely depends upon the context and background for which this project has been designed. Now, let's take further that what are the different kinds of participation. Now, as it is amply clear when you see it that there are various types of participation depending upon the degree of people's participation. So these are the around 7, 8 types of participation. Now, in different projects, in different developmental projects or different ways, you would find that participation varies from project to project and from region to region also. And say passive participation, there people participate in the development project, but they are very passive. That means they are not able to give their feedback, their decision, their aspiration, expectations from their development project. They are there, they see everything, but they are not able to participate. So this is called passive participation. See, earlier when the projects were designed, the role of these people was very less. So we started from passive participation and gradually we have moved to other forms of participation, which we are going to discuss more. Now, participation in information giving. Information, now here, participants are involved in taking information that what are their requirements. Say if there is a village and there are some money in the panchayat fund for the development. So what is the priority, what they want first, first priority for what? That money should be invested for what kind. They want a road, they want a school building, they want a panchayat building, or what kind of, or a irrigation channel or canal or a pipe, hand pumps, or a repairing of a well. So this kind of information is gathered from people. So participation in information giving is one way in which people although participate, but apart from that, their involvement is very less. Now we will find in other forms of participation, it grows their participation. Now participation by consultation, they are consulted as and on the project develops, the requirement is there. So sometimes their consultation is more often, so that means their participation is better. Similarly, there is another form of participation called participation by material incentives. That means they provide their participation either in form of some incentives, is either they sometimes they give their labor, or sometimes they are given some kind of incentives that if this project is for this village, so the labor force would be from this village only, and those who would be working, they will get this kind of incentive. So then this is one kind of participation by material incentive. Then functional participation, this is very important, that functional participation means the people of an area of a project site, they are party as a function. They are together in all, right from the inception of the project to the implementation. They are participant as a functional. So they participate at all levels of participation. Then interactive participation in another, and the last and the final is the self-mobilization. Here, the project propounder or the NGO or the government agency, they don't go to the people with the idea of a project or with the idea of a development activity. People themselves mobilize themselves that they need a particular kind of canal or a road or a school or what you call the fencing of a forest patch. So they mobilize themselves and they come up for a development activity. So this is the best form of participation, where people mobilize, they come up with the idea, and then they monitor their development. So dear students, I hope now these are the various levels of participation of people. Now in your own areas, in urban areas also, you can easily point out, you can easily visualize and see that what is the level of participation of a RWA, Residents Welfare Association, or an area where the drain is overspilling. The role of municipal corporation is there. So people's participation is very important in monitoring, in designing, in developing. If the people are mobilizing themselves and putting pressure, although there are different kinds of institutional mechanisms are there already in place, but without pressure from the people, these mechanisms, these institutions, they are helpless. I'll give you one small example, that suppose there is a garbage from a locality in urban areas, if it is not being collected by the municipal corporation. So the National Green Tribunal, NGT, has a system by which if you just click a photograph of that and you complain on the website of NGT that from this date, this particular location, the garbage is not being cleared from by the municipal corporation, and because of the foul smell and because of the decomposition, it is creating havoc to the region. So they will be penalized. The municipal corporation would be penalized. But very rarely we find that community, urban area, the RWA doing this. So this kind of self-mobilization is very important. Institutional mechanisms are there, but we have to take initiative. The people have to come up and take initiative to lodge a complaint or to get the work done. So I hope with this concrete one or two examples from different regions, you are able to understand that self-mobilization is the best form of participation. You can see in, I will tell you that in all the remote and far-flung areas, the self-mobilization is very, it is done at a very large scale. People participate in all kinds of decision making in the management of the forest resources, in the management of the grazing resources in the alpine meadows of the Himalayan region. Each village has been assigned a small patch of grazing land, which comes under the village panchayat. For it is called the forest panchayat in the Uttarakhand, joint forest management in some of the other region. So there, what happens that people, if there are different seasons for the grazing. In off season, if somebody is found grazing, they are fined. How they are fined? People themselves from the village go and complain, lodge a complaint with the forest management authority that so and so was there, everyone knows everyone, was grazing with his livestock size of so much. So accordingly, fine is imposed on them. So why I am giving this example, that the resources are better managed when the when the self-mobilization is there. And this is one of the examples I gave, that when the people are aware that resources would deplete if they don't follow the rules, if they don't obey the regulations which have been designed by themselves and imposed by the community and village institutions. Now, with this small definition and understanding of participation, let's go further and see what are the other things there. Now, importance of people's participation. Now, we know different kinds of participation, which we have discussed. Now, let's see and understand that what are the different kinds of, what are the importance of people's participation. Most people want to be involved. They have intrinsic desire to get involved. Why? Because they want to save their resource base. They want to be heard. They want their resources to be utilized in a judicious way. For various reasons, people have a desire to be involved in the management, in the party. They want to participate in the decision making. Now, people have right to be involved. People have legal entitlements to be involved, the rights to redress, to comment, to be to be consulted on issues impacting their lives and society. What does it mean? It means that people, they know that the resource base is for them. If they are not utilized judiciously, they would, if they are depleted, it is going to affect their lives also. So they want to be involved. They want to put pressure on the institution which has been designed to put pressure or to check on the utilizing of those resources beyond a permissible limit. So these are the ways in which sustainability science has also evolved and has evolved with the community. It has evolved, learned from the different communities and whom we call the ecosystem people who reside besides nature, who are forest dwellers, and it has been designed, it has evolved over a period of time through informal experimentation without knowing that there is science in that. But what does science do? They have given a scientific basis to that traditional practices of the evolved resource management by the traditional communities. Now let's take that what are the other participation makes, other form of participation, it makes more efficient and cost effective to the services. Those projects which are designed by the people and there is a cost involved and the people have to pay for the services. Let's take the uh, water tariff in urban areas where the potable water is provided to the people. Now, if people, although we all are paying for the water in urban area, but we rarely find that we are not aware that much, or we are, what should I call, people see that if there is a pipe, there is a leakage somewhere, nobody bothers. People would jump, they would go by from the side, but they would seldom complain to the Jal Nigam board or to the municipal corporation that water is leaking, whereas they know that they are paying for that resources. Similarly, if someone is overutilizing these resources, say in some of the areas, people have huge gardens, and to their lawns and parks and to the gardens, they have the sprinklers and they are wasting water. And the same drinking water, if it is being done, although things have changed now because of the pressure, now those water, the recycled water is supplied for the gardening purpose. The potable drinking water is not utilized. There are two kinds of connection has been provided for the gardening and for irrigation purpose. A different kind of recycled water from our sewer system has been designed. So this is how gradually people's participation has helped in evolution of utilization of resources. Now, this is very important that what are the different perspectives of participation? What are the perspectives? As you find, the FAO looks at the participation from these perspectives. One is the functional participation, how to increase efficiency and effectiveness of research and development. The functional participation is that what is the function of a particular project, what function it is going to provide, in what way it is going to be beneficial for the people. Some of the components of the project which is less beneficial, or this way the wastage is curtailed, wastage is stopped. So I hope that the concept of the perspective of functional participation to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of a research and development project is very important. You can well understand. Then empowering participation. This is very important. By empowering participation, we are increasing the people's role in decision making, in independence, awareness, capacity of marginalized group. So if we are empowering people, so they are going to act as a check and balance, and they are going to modify if the results and the fruits of development project, if it is not catering to the community in a particular way as envisaged, as designed by the people, then by empowering participation, they are going to modify, they are going to protest or check or change the functions of the project or the output of the project, so that the wastage is minimal and output is maximum and benefit goes to the people for whom the project has been designed. Now, philosophical participation. What is philosophical participation? That allows that people to express what are the other alternatives point of view. Not that only this is the way in which project has been designed, whatever has been imposed on the community or on the end users, that is the final. Philosophical participation gives people an alternative to suggest that in what way the project can be implemented in a much better way, so that they get maximum benefit, and also they feel happy that their participation has changed the course of project with minimal wastage and maximum output. So it also increases the efficiency of the people and the project people, that in what way the inputs which they get from the people who are involved in the project, and in what way it is. So there is a dialogue between the community for whom the project has been designed and the project people who are the implementers of the project. And the alternative, sometimes the alternative provides a better option, a better way, and it has changed the course of entire development project. Now, participation as a process. If seen as a process in development program, there is involvement of local people in implementation of externally designed. What does it mean? It is a process that what the end of the project or the final, what we call the output of the project, it can be modified, it can be changed because of the participation. It is a process, continual, it is a continuous process in which end users or the what we call the project for where the result or output for which the project has been designed, it can be changed because of the participation. It is a process. It considers it as a process and continuously it evolves. Then participation as an end. This is very clear that participation as a goal of a policy initiative entails empowering the people. See, this summarizes that various kinds of perspectives for participation. So till now, whatever we have discussed, if you all have some query, I will wait for a few minutes and then I will go further. You can interact with me, but not not more than one or two interaction, one or two, so that there is a paucity of time. I have to cover more of it. If
Sir,
there is, yeah,
we can have that interaction after the session. We will have
okay,
a discussion
right,
session.
right. Thank you, Dr. Kuman. So let's go further. Now, let's see policy and planning. Now, we all know what is policy and planning because whoever as a student or as a working in some organization, some institutions, each organization, each institution has a policy, and that policy is planned by planning something, that in what way we are going to say a corporate sector. If it is there, the policy of corporate sector is to earn maximum profit through minimal wastage. It also tries, see, here I will give you an example that the interest of the corporate sector, of the employer and the employee, is always contradictory. The employee wants to draw the maximum output and maximum take the all the profit and give minimal to the, not minimal, but the interest is not to give more to the people. Whereas the employees, they want maximum output. So this kinds of, there's a dialogue between the employees and the employer in an organization. Similarly, in any utilization of the resources, in natural resources, that dialogue in the form of perspectives of planning, as I discussed earlier, and participation is done. Now, the policy sciences framework is one approach to understand and guide the choice of public policies and strategies for getting them enacted. So it is amply clear. What does it mean? Policy science. That is a framework, an approach to understand that in what way the strategies is to get them enacted. The project, to get the project implemented in a particular way the policy has been designed. Now, public policy study is a much broader term. It covers what? Various approaches for policy analysis. Now, this distinctness of the policy science framework is that it insists on all the following analytical comments. What does it mean? It means that this particular study gives an understanding on the very broader term, the various factors which affect the policy, designing of a policy, and the better result of the output of the policy for the better implementation of the project. Now, see, when a project has been implemented in a particular area, the output of the project, in what way project can give maximum result in favor of the people and in favor of the project implementers. Or say, if it is a public sector project, the public sector people, in what way the wastage is less, they draw maximum satisfaction by getting positive feedback from people. And people are very happy that the objectives of the project is met out at a minimal loss, or they, whatever they have designed or they have desired from the project, they get maximum. So this happens through coordination, cooperation, and collaboration. Now let's see what does it mean. Now the key sources for the development of approaches for sustainability. See, without taking name of or using the word sustainability, I am divining, I am going ahead, but in overall, whatever we are discussing, that all is part of sustainability. And sustainability science is the study of all these small fragmented facets, all these fragmented parts, all these fragmented policies, all these different approaches, practices in different communities. So sustainability science in an overall umbrella which gives a scientific understanding of all these things so that the wastage is minimal, output is more, people are happy with they are satisfied with the development project, and the 16, 17 goals, sustainable development goals are met out. So let's see what are these things. Now, integrated approach are neither top down, where goals at each level in the organization are determined based on the goals at the next higher level, nor bottom up, where the goals of the individual units are aggregated together. It is amply clear, so I need not go further. Now, instead of the third point is that instead of integrated planning may be regarded as an interactive or collaboration. See what happens when the linkages are coordinated, cooperation, collaboration. Now, what happens? What is coordination? There is a coordination between different wings, different organizations of a public sector unit or a government organization. Say, let's take, I will give an example from the forest patch. Now, there are certain patches of the forest where the civil society, the what we call um, the revenue department of the government, the land belongs to them, and the forest is managed by the forest department. So that means there are two organizations. The land belongs to the forest to the revenue department, whereas the forest, the forest on that land belongs to the management, belongs to the forest department. And forest department has allowed the local communities to do some lopping to collect the leaf litter from the forest, dropped from the forest patch. So you find that there are three different: land belongs to one organization, it is managed by another organization, and it is utilized by third organization. So this can happen well when there is a coordination, cooperation, and collaboration. So that means these three words are the best way to utilize the resources to the maximum with less wastage and maximum output from the nature. Now, what happens when there is a cooperation, collaboration, and coordination? So it also acts as a check on the resource base. It also changes the course of policy through coordination. They coordinate, they cooperate. The organization listens to the people. The organization also listens to the various end users, and time to time it mends the policy of the or the framework in which they have designed or allowed the people to utilize the resources. So coordination, cooperation, and collaboration. Let's take one example from the urban areas. Say an open area, a football ground in the open area, or a public park in an open area. Now, public park, certain activities are not allowed. Sometimes pets are not allowed. Sometimes people in a big number, say a function is not allowed, that you cannot hold a party in the public garden. So it is why it is done, because people cooperate. Individual organization, it belongs to the particular department, say PWD, and they have allowed people and users to come and rest in the garden, to walk around the garden and take advantage of the garden. But if they don't cooperate, if people go in big number, if they try to hold a party in that, so that the trampling would destroy the grasses, it will destroy beds, and it will harm the other people who are one or two individuals. So cooperation is very important, and people do cooperate in different forms. Now, these are some of the examples where coordination, cooperation, and collaboration they refer to formal institutionalized relationship among. I have given you two few concrete examples from different area. I will give one more example, that in the mountainous area, in the alpine meadows, what happens? What kind of cooperation, collaboration happens? The individual pastoral communities, they go with huge herd of sheep and goats sometimes, and they graze in there. But when they see that another grazing unit is coming, approaching that meadow, they gradually move on the other side, so that there is no conflict between two end users. There's their livestock, they don't intermix, and gradually they have, since they were using it, grazing it for the earlier, since earlier times, for some time, so they share the resources. That resources can be shared by other pastoral community. Now, and say those alpine meadows belongs to the forest department. Forest department, if they see that if it has been overgrazed, so they don't allow the pastoral communities, or sometimes they increase the grazing tax in those areas, so that only the most needy people, only the most needy grazers, that flock would come, and they have to pay the grazing charge to the forest department. Now, then there is a collaboration also. Now, within the flock size, there are different approaches to the grazing. What happens? A pastoralist, what he does, he divides his entire grazing animals into three categories. The ones used for procreation, he grazes them first, so when they get the most nutritive grasses of the alpine meadow, and because they are utilized for the procreation, so they give the best output. The best healthy baby is born from the, so the most nutritive grasses are fed. So they feed, they graze those animals, they divide their livestock in such a way that they graze first. After that, the second category of animals, that is used as a pack animals for transportation in the remote, far-flung mountain areas, the sheep and goats, they are used as pack animals also. And the last category are those which is used for the meat purpose, table. So they are fed at the last. Why I'm telling that within a flock, there is a coordination, cooperation, collaboration, that they have to devise, they have evolved a mechanism, that so that similarly the other pastoral communities. So that means coordination, cooperation, collaboration is between two end users, is between two institutions, is between end users and an institution. So in a different permutation and combination, in different forms, it is there. And sustainability science has put them under one umbrella, so that it is a way, it is a mechanism of resource utilization, so that the best output is available and resources, and the wastage is minimal, and the overgrazing is not there, over harnessing of resources is not there. So I have given you three kinds of example, from an urban area, from a tribal area, and from the forested area. What happens in the buffer zone of the forest patch, the villages which are on the buffer zone, so they are permitted first to come and collect leaf litter, to come and collect some fodder of certain, they do little lopping is permissible. And the villages which is away from the core zone of the forest, they are not permitted. The first one are the buffer zone, the villages which is on the border of the forest, reserve forest, not the reserve forest, a forest patch, which is reserve forest, entry is completely banned. Nobody is allowed to enter in the reserve forest. But in those forest patches where it is not reserved, so the buffer zone people, they are given first permission. They are given permission by the forest department to utilize, to collect leaf litter and harvest some of the fodder for the livestock. So, dear students, coordination, cooperation, collaboration plays, these concepts are already in practice. They have evolved in remote areas, and they are utilized by the urban or the institutions. Let's go further and see public participation and governance in development. I will go further because I have already, we are falling short of time. I am running slow. So I'll move a bit faster so that there is some interaction. 5 minutes I leave for interaction with my dear fellow students. The importance of public participation. See, I told you that what happens in governance. Governance, see, when the fund, there is a paucity of funds, the maximum output you can draw from that limited fund is through governance. What happens? The money is utilized under different heads for a project. Say, there is a project for the irrigation. Now there is some amount of money for the maintenance of the canal, some amount money for the flow of the water to be given to guard who is there, and some amount of money for the agriculture field. So when there is a good governance, the different money under different heads is utilized for that purpose. Then what happens that no other work suffers. What happens in most of the development project, there is transfer of funds. The government, what it does, the moment they get a World Bank project, the entire money they put in the bank, or they purchase few jeeps, or they make infrastructure in the name of for the management of the project, but the money which should have gone to the field does not go to the field. Through good governance, through public participation, these heads are maintained, and the public puts a check on the department, or they see that there is a transparency. They see that so much grant has been put for the maintenance, so much grant has been put for the salary of the employees of the project, and they are able to see through the either through the on the portal or the website. So that happens when there is a transparency, when there is governance. I told in the initially that some of the features of good governance is the transparency, decision making, people's participation. Then you are able to deliver to the best of the project. You are able to meet all the heads. You are able to deliver. Now I hope you will read, and you have Dr. Khuman would be giving these uh, slides to you, this material, so to you. You can correlate with my lecture, whatever I am telling and whatever is there. So let me see what else. Then public governance, I have already told you that through good governance, the international development agencies, they lay very important emphasis on governance, that a project, the best output of a development project, they get through good governance. So governance and development, they are very important component for development. Now, role of people's participation, I think you all can understand, you all can read that the participation by information, these are some of the types of participation. Decision making, empowerment, I have already told you. And now there is one more important component, evolution of people's participation in Indian governance. See, ever since 1992, the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, they gave Panchayati Raj, PRI, a constitutional right, and they became the third pillar of our development, the third tier of our government. The first tier is the central government, the second tier is the state government, and third tier is the Panchayati Raj, the village people. That is the panchayat, then the block, and then the district panchayat. So this is one form of, and similarly, there is a devolution of power, devolution of funds, so that funds cannot be transferred. There is a earmarked funds for the PRI institution. After this, no government or chief minister can transfer a fund or take out or curtail a fund from a panchayat. Because of this constitutional right, which 73rd and 74th amendment goes to the creation of urban local bodies, and the village at 73rd goes to the Panchayati Raj. So Panchayati Raj and urban local bodies, 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment have given enormous power to the people, to these local organization, local bodies for the development. And we find all kinds of activities, and this is how evolution has taken place. So dear friends, I have tried to cover in 1 hour. I have tried to cover whatever was Dr. Khuman had told me to deliver to you all. Now we are open for interaction and discussion.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let me close this session. And, first.